It's that time of year again, the moment when dreams are either realized or crushed in the blink of an eye. The final weeks of preseason aren't just about fine-tuning playbooks or evaluating matchups. They're about survival. Behind the scenes, tensions are rising, tough conversations are happening, and a handful of players are facing the cold reality that this could be the end of the road. But what if I told you that some of the names on the verge of being cut might actually shock you? This isn't your typical roster trimming. There are unexpected storylines, breakout performances changing the pecking order, and injuries throwing wrenches into once solid plans. Stick around. What you're about to hear might just flip your expectations upside down. But first, make sure you click the like button and comment below. Who do you think should be cut? I want to hear your opinion. The Atlanta Falcons are staring down one of the most pivotal weeks of the preseason, and the stakes couldn't be higher. With the final roster cuts looming, key decisions must be made, and some names on the chopping block may surprise even the most dedicated fans. Following a telling Week 2 preseason performance against the Tennessee Titans, the roster picture is beginning to come into focus, and for some players, it's looking increasingly bleak. This isn't just another generic cut list. This is a moment of reckoning. Falcons head coach Raheem Morris didn't mince words when he called this next game a make or break for several players. And if you're a player teetering on the edge of the 53-man roster, those words hit like a freight train. We're talking careers on the line, dreams potentially shattered, and for the fans, a window into the cold, calculating side of building an NFL team. Let's start with Carlos Washington Jr. For much of the offseason, some believed he could claw his way into that third running back spot. But reality has been unforgiving. A nagging hamstring injury has kept Washington sidelined for the entirety of the preseason, and the writing appears to be on the wall. Nathan Carter has seized the moment, showcasing sharp vision, decisive cuts, and impressive patience reminiscent of Le'Veon Bell. Carter's performance against the Titans made it almost impossible to deny his claim to that final spot. Unless the Falcons decide to keep four backs, an unlikely scenario, Washington's time in Atlanta may be up. Next up, David Sills. Once a promising name deep in the wide receiver room, Sills now finds himself overtaken by two unexpected breakout stars, Dylan Drummond and Chris Blair. And make no mistake, these guys aren't just filling out the depth chart, they're actively earning roles. Blair has torched defenders this preseason, racking up 132 yards and 2 touchdowns on just 6 receptions. Meanwhile, Drummond has been a reception magnet, catching 12 passes on 15 targets for 85 yards. The chemistry, the production, the consistency, it's all there. With Darnell Mooney, Drake London, Ray McLeod, and KhaDarel Hodge locking down the top 4 spots, the 5th and 6th wide receiver slots now look firmly in Drummond and Blair's hands. That spells bad news for Sills, who just hasn't done enough to make a compelling case. But the offensive purge doesn't stop there. Jack Nelson, the 7th-round pick out of Wisconsin, has been overwhelmed in his first NFL action. Serving as the backup behind Caleb McGarry, Nelson has struggled with pre-snap discipline, racking up 3 penalties in just 2 games, and appears outmatched by the speed and complexity of the pro game. While Storm Norton's injury could temporarily shift the calculus on the offensive line, Nelson hasn't done enough to convince coaches he's ready for the 53-man roster. Right now, his ceiling appears to be the practice squad. For a player taken late in the draft, that might still be a victory, but it's certainly not the outcome he was hoping for. And then there's Clark Phillips 3. This one stings a little more, not because the performance has been poor, but because injuries have once again reared their head at the worst possible moment. A rib injury has kept Phillips off the practice field in recent weeks, and in a loaded cornerback room, that kind of absence is costly. Raheem Morris had hoped to experiment with Phillips in a nickel role, adding versatility to his profile. But with A.J. Terrell, Mike Hughes, D. Alford, and Billy Bowman locking down 4 of the spots, the competition for the final 2 or 3 corner positions is fierce. Mike Ford Jr. brings value on special teams. Natron Brooks has had one of the best camps of any defender, making splash plays and forcing turnovers. Even Lamar Jackson, despite inconsistency, has stayed on the field and shown flashes. When you combine those performances with the cold math of roster construction, it becomes clear Phillips is currently on the outside looking in. It's not about potential, it's about right now. And unless something dramatic happens, Phillips may be a victim of a numbers game. Now I want to hear from you, Falcons fans. Which of these potential cuts surprises you the most? Do you think Carlos Washington Jr. deserves another shot? Has David Sills been overlooked? Could Jack Nelson bounce back, or is Clark Phillips simply out of time? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. The conversation around the Falcons roster cuts isn't just about who goes, it's also a reflection of how this team is evolving. Raheem Morris and his staff are sending a clear message: performance, availability, and consistency matter more than draft pedigree or preseason hype. And the ripple effect of these decisions will shape the identity of the 2025 Falcons. Take a closer look at how these battles are impacting the bigger picture. At running back, Carter's emergence isn't just a nice story, it's a symbol of the Falcons betting on players who maximize every opportunity. While Washington's injury is unfortunate, the team can't afford to wait. Carter's versatility, burst, and game readiness could quietly become one of the biggest surprises of the preseason. At wide receiver, the decision to back Drummond and Blair highlights a shift towards speed, route precision, and reliability. It's no longer enough to simply look the part. You've got to produce, and both have done exactly that. It's a subtle but significant turning point where effort and execution eclipse depth chart politics. Meanwhile, the situation with Jack Nelson reminds us that not every late-round pick pans out right away. His penalties and lack of awareness underscore the learning curve at the pro level. But there's still a pathway, perhaps not on the active roster, but in the long game of development. Keep an eye on him stashed on the practice squad. With time and refinement, that story may not be over. And then there's Clark Phillips 3. His possible exit would feel less like a disappointment and more like a tough business decision. The secondary has become unexpectedly deep, and that's a good problem to have. But for Phillips, it could mean being the odd man out, not due to a lack of talent, but because others simply stepped up when he couldn't. If this is the end of his chapter in Atlanta, it's a reminder that sometimes potential alone isn't enough to survive roster crunches. In the end, this final preseason game isn't just a formality, it's a battlefield. It's the last audition, the final audition tape sent to coaches, executives, and fans. Some will shine, others will falter, and a few may unexpectedly steal a spot. That's the raw drama of the NFL. So Falcons fans, what do you think? Who's earned their wings this preseason, and who should be packing their bags? Drop your take in the comments. Was the front office right about these decisions? Or is someone being unfairly cut? And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a beat. We've got full coverage of every roster move, every game, and every storyline as this team chases greatness in 2025. Go Falcons!